First of all, thank you everyone for taking the time to join us today for the RISE webinar. We are here to discuss some interesting opportunities that are in our pipeline. I'm Renuka Ramu, the Director of Investor Outreach, and I have with me here Ryan Schmidt, Founder and CEO. He would be joining us shortly. Girija Duraisamy, who is the Chief Operations Officer, and Maya Saragopal, who is our Chief Financial Officer. So for those of you who have invested with us, most of you know Gopal and Ryan, and they started Rise in 2018, but their journey started even before when they were investing individually and then combined together. And it was their success which led to other people wanting to invest, and that's how Rise came about. And now, since 2020, we've pivoted exclusively towards student housing, and we currently have 9 properties in our portfolio and 4,600 plus beds. So this is the executive team and our leadership team, who the others who weren't able to join us today. Josh, our Director of Operations, Ali, our Director of Marketing and Leasing, Angie, our Director of Finance, and Durga, our Director of Investor Relations. We currently have 9 properties and 4,600 beds and hold 165 million plus in equity. So Ryan, I know you've been the driving force. Please feel free to walk us on how we begin to build up properties and how we reach them.
Sure, I'd be happy to talk about it. Thanks, everybody. Nice to meet you. I've met a lot of you on this call, and so I'd be happy to discuss our process here. It's kind of an intense one, and obviously very important to the just start to finish, understanding what makes sense as far as what should go in the portfolio and just what doesn't make sense. And there's a lot of opportunity out there right now, so it's really it's locating the ones that are applicable to the rise operations. So you can all see the a lot of the bullet points there, but the basics of it are we focus on underperforming properties, so properties that are mismanaged, have occupancy issues, or have financial issues, and a lot of times those three kind of run hand in hand. So we have a pretty intense process for how we find the properties. Once we identify what makes sense to possibly bring into the Rise portfolio, a lot of times we'll make a move on it. From there, we'll start to do due diligence, which is a pretty quite an intense process where we have a whole team built out that really combs over the properties and identifies key areas where we can increase income, decrease expenses. It's the basic idea behind it. If we're feeling good, we move to acquire the property, and then we immediately get to work. I mean, really, we've been working for at least 60 days up to the close. So it's not as though we're picking up cold the day we buy it. It's a well thought out process that we already have our ideas in mind that sometimes we start to enact before we ever close the property. But certainly when we own the property, that's when we really start to put the initiatives into action, increasing occupancy, decreasing expenses, just trying to improve the bottom line. And then eventually we sell the property. We're specific about when we sell properties. We wait for the property to be operating, be in a stable state financially and operationally. And then we also wait for the market timing to make sense. So that's a little overview of the kind of the start to finish process. And we've got a great team here with me and behind the scenes that we all have our eyes on these deals to make sure we they're well vetted.
Thanks, Ryan. And this is a track record. Girija, I know, uh, we have four properties here with varying data, but and there's an underlying unifying factor amongst all of it. So please explain what has been the rice recipe for success throughout.
Sure thing, Renu. So, as you mentioned, the one thing that you can see is the net operating income from how it was during the purchase versus like how we have transformed it over the course of our operational strategic approaches. So I'm not going to go into each of the properties, given that we have time constraints. I'm just going to kind of stick to the reserve. So as you see it there, it was at around a little over 500,000 in the NOI when we took it over in May 2022. Today, we stand close to 1.5 million in the NOI, and the occupancy is the highest in the portfolio. We are at 98%, a little over 98%, in fact, now. And the pre-leasing has started, and it's kind of like steadily going up. So what we did at the reserve is we listened to what people wanted there. We listened to their concerns. We identified there were like a handful of issues that we had to deal with, HVACs, and also the old management was not paying attention. And we identified few of the water leakage issues, made sure we had water sensors installed on the buildings to identify the leaks before the water company calls us and says that, oops, you have like a huge problem going on. So also improve the security of the place with installing multiple CCTV cameras at the pivoted locations. So overall, what happened is people started understanding that we care for our residents there, and the exposure that the property had as not so sought after student living became the most sought after. So that's how you will see, that's the secret recipe, if you would call it, on the reserve. So each property has its own story, but I'm not going to go there. But one perk that I would like to add on the reserve is this year we have returned 25% of the capital back. So we did not have any accrued returns due. So we are caught up on all dues, plus 25% of the actual investor capital has been repaid back. So we are trying to see if we can replicate that across all our properties.
We
We
do
go
like to
back
keep
one
it
slide,
happy.
Renew.
Yeah.
I just like to point this out, and for anybody that's unfamiliar, some common metrics would be if you can increase the NOI, the net operating income, by 15 or 20%, that's a winning recipe. You're doing really, really well operationally. You can see at really any of these properties we've increased by well over 15 or 20%. So it's just a testament to the kind of the remarkable operations team that we have.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ryan. And Heartland Village is one of our closed deals, a full cycle deal. Um, Girija, can you tell us more about how we went about from start to finish and how we made the profits on that?
Sure. So Heartland Village, the day when Ryan and Gopal toured the property, they spent quite a bit of time with the community manager. And on that particular instant itself, they identified what was the major problem there. She had so great ideas, but the then management was not ready to kind of implement them. So once we took over the property, what we really did was we really listened to her, gave her the freedom to run the ideas by us, and we did not put brakes on what can be implemented, provided they were like within the limits of our financial capabilities. And within the first year, she was able to turn the property around so good. She established great partnership with the athletic departments there. And I think like it was the soccer team, if I'm not wrong, Ryan, they had a partnership agreement laid with us, and it became like a very well occupied within the first year of operations. And the NOI, of course, increased as a result of it. And we were able to exit the market with 2x equity multiple for all our investors on this one. So within 4 years of our operations, of course.
That's great. Coming back to the distributions part of it, which is the focal point for our investors. Maya, please walk us through the different components that we have across our investment models.
Yep. So I think many of the folks on this call are familiar with the kind of three different ways that we're um, looking at distribution. So preferred returns are distributed to investors once a property is stabilized. And so you start accruing those returns on day one, and we start paying them out once the situation with the property is, sufficient to be able to provide that cash flow. And so that really depends on the property, but we typically it takes our team 1 to 2 years to improve the occupancy. And one of the factors that is really at play there is what the occupancy is when we acquire the property, because these are student housing. If we're purchasing a property in like April, May, June, students already know where they're living for the next year, so it's going to be a little bit longer of a time for us to get things in order. Some properties may have more capital expenditures required or just a little more, work that we need to do in that first year. But we generally look to get expenses under control in that first year, get occupancy up by that first full school year, and start generating positive cash flow so that we can pay out those preferred returns. And then once we sell the property is when the profit share comes into play. So the waterfall profits are calculated after the sale. So we take out the closing costs. We have to pay out any accrued preferred returns if we haven't caught up yet on all the accrued preferred returns. And then we allocate the remaining profits to each class of investors based off of their investment percentage in the equity stack. So those are the ways that investors are paid. Typically, we kind of think about investing in student housing real estate as, a long game investment, right? The preferred returns are nice, but where you're really going to get that benefit is in the profit share. So we encourage, our investors to not necessarily compare this to compare investing in a syndicate or in the equity fund to, putting your money in a bank account and getting get interest payment every year. It's going to be more of a like what you'll see those preferred returns over the course of the investment, but then that profit share is really where, the payout is bringing that ROI up. One of the things that we try to do as well is, just be really transparent with our investors about those preferred returns. So, for example, we acquired 4 properties in the last year or so, with 3 of those being last fall. And so, as we're approaching that period of, okay, heading into the first full school year, we try to share with our investors, how do we think the property is doing? When do we expect that we'll be able to start paying out preferred returns? When will we increase those so that you all are aware of when those payments will start?
Right. Thanks, Maya. And we have 3 investment models at the moment, and Maya is going to be explaining a little bit more about that in detail.
Yes. So I think, most of you all are probably familiar with the traditional syndicate model where, you bring in your investment and we have all of our investor equity used to purchase a single property. And so that has been kind of the model that we've taken from day one with syndicate investments. We also have just started rolling out a second equity fund. So we're calling this Rise Select Fund 2. And how this works is that we have, all of the different investors, all their money is put into the equity fund, and the equity fund is used to purchase multiple properties. And so the benefit here is that your investment is diversified across multiple properties. I think everyone likes to assume that they're always going to succeed. Our track record shows that we can succeed, and we think that we will continue to, but diversification is good in any market, and especially in housing real estate market, we do want to make sure that our investors are taken care of. And so the equity fund offers a way to diversify your investment across multiple properties. And then finally, the note fund is a promissory note backed by Rise Select. And so if you are looking for those regular interest payments, regular stream of income on your investment, the note fund offers that.
Thanks, Maya.
So this slide just kind of outlines some of the differences between those 3 options. We're happy to kind of go into the details or the pros and cons of the different options. But one of the things that I do want to highlight is really with the equity fund, which you see in the middle here is the diversification. Whether you are in a syndicate investment or the equity fund, you still have that opportunity to participate in the upside. But with the equity fund, you have the opportunity to participate in multiple deals. And so the way that the equity fund is going to be structured is it's around 10 years. And we're going to purchase multiple properties with those funds. And so you have, if you invest in the equity fund, you are kind of reaping the benefits of all those different investments in that 10-year cycle. All of the investment options will pay monthly distributions, and then the difference between syndicate and equity fund and the note fund is just that the property-based investments won't start paying out until the property has stabilized.
And reiterating on the fact of transparency and getting things across. So we try to maintain communications every week, as well as quarterly newsletters about what's happening across the properties. And the investor relations team is always available for you to send your queries, and we will get back to you at the earliest. So this is a syndication model. We have three classes, class A, B, and C, with preferred returns at 15, 13, and 11%. We will be sending this deck to all the participants of today's webinar. The equity fund has two classes with a minimum of 100 and a million, with preferred returns of 10 and 12%, and the profit share of 50 and 65%. And the note fund, we again have two classes with a minimum of 100 and a 500. And we have different percentages across the year of investment. So the investor gets to choose between a year 1 to up to year 5. Now, Ryan, I know this has been a property that you've been pursuing for a few months now. Please please tell the audience why you think this is a good fit for the RISE portfolio.
Sure, I'd be happy to talk about it. So there's really two properties that we're going to present today. And the basic idea remains the same. They're both struggling. They're struggling occupancy-wise. They're struggling financially, and they're struggling operationally. So this is a kind of a case in point, perfect play for RISE to come in and turn things around. So the first one here is Nittany Pointe. Yeah, but I mean, I've been working on this for probably close to 4 months now. It's a short sale deal. And right across the street from the Altoona, Pennsylvania, Nittany Pointe campus, which is part of the Penn State system. Really just a nice product that needs a good operator in there. Currently, the management company just doesn't understand student housing. Student housing is tough, okay? It's not easy. So we believe we can get our hands in there and get the place turned around.
Girija, I know we've already begun strategizing on this one. Can you tell us how we are planning on operationally getting this up to speed?
Sure thing, Renu. So based on the operational research, we found that the rents at this property are like way overpriced comparing to the market average. So they are like currently charging $700 a bed, which is the main reason for declined occupancy, though this should be like technically the most sought after student housing because it's right next to the football field of the campus. So our main strategy is going to be to kind of bring the rents down to meet with the market average. That itself is going to make this as a venue where people will be like looking to come forward. And we have also identified a couple of areas where there is possibility of significant expense reduction initiatives that can be like undertaken. So those are the two main strategies. So main thing is going to be align the rents with market standards and then attract more students. Of course, run it our way so that it's going to be like more resident friendly than how it is today.
All right. And Maya, I know you're working on the cash flow and projections. So feel free to give a sneak peek to our investors about what we're planning on those lines.
Yeah, so we've taken a good look at the T12 financials and have been working on kind of building out projections for this property. You'll see here, 41% occupied as of this year. That is something that we absolutely think that we can improve. So we are looking at, down the line, I think with our target around 80%, we think that we could get there. We think we can like Girijo was saying, strategically work those rents. So not necessarily just increase them to increase them, but figure out what actually makes sense, what's the right value for the residents, and then, what level of investment in some of these amenities is worthwhile in order to be able to increase rents. So we're looking at trying to increase occupancy to around 80%, and then we'll continue to work on driving down expenses to our target, which is usually around 65% expense ratio. And then we believe that we can really turn around the NOI on this property.
And Girija, please tell us what we have planned out for this particular property.
Sure thing, Renu. So, upon our initial detailed analysis of the T12s and other details that we have provided, and we also had our operations and marketing team already kind of like open every single door out there. So we have identified that this property is currently like a little pricey in the market, and that is the main reason where the occupancy is not like in the 70s or 80s. It's kind of like in the 40s right now. So the goal is to kind of align the rents with the market standards. And we have also identified a few of, not major, but like a few of unit upgrades that would kind of like come in very handy to make this the go-to student housing, because you can see this is just right next to the university, just minutes away, walkable from the university. So we are planning to do a little bit of a capex upgrade to the unit and conduct a lot of resident events so that the entire vibe of the place is more attractive to residents rather than kind of like looking as a typical multifamily and not more student focused. So those are going to be our two main focuses. Upgrade units a little bit, make it attractive to students, align rent with the market standards.
Yeah, this is what we describe as purpose-built student housing. So it was there's a couple key points to this. One of them is bedroom bathroom parity, and when we say that, we mean there's a bathroom for every bedroom, something students really like. Now, the other important thing about what we describe as purpose-built student housing, that doesn't mean it couldn't be something else. Our focus is student housing. That's how we're going to try to run this property, but it could be something else as a plan B or C. So, we look at this looks if you look at this product, it looks very very similar to other properties in our portfolio that we've been highly successful with.
Thanks, Joy. And these are the projections that we have listed for this particular property. We also have a few more potential acquisitions that are there in the pipeline. Ryan, please feel free to tell the group what you think of these properties that we currently have that we're currently looking at.
Yeah, so they're all it fits the profile. So they're all struggling in some way, shape, or form, some more than others. We've got offers in on these 4 properties, and I could dive into each one right now, but I think it would just make more sense if we progress towards really getting them under contract. But suffice it to say that each one has a strong value add component and checks many of the boxes that we're looking for when we're, very actively engaging in properties. So I'm happy to go in deeper if you want, Renew, or maybe just,
Yeah.
we will
do a follow-up webinar on that.
We've got our let's just say we've got our finger on the pulse on these properties. Okay. One very exciting thing that's happening at Rise is people are asking, when's your next purchase? When's your next purchase? I know, I'm working on it. We're very, very actively working on it. So we have a robust pipeline of properties. And I think that the confidence I can speak to with the Rise team is we don't let the chaos of all the properties get in the way of just figuring out what works for Rise and what doesn't work for Rise. But at a bare minimum, these are 4 properties we've identified that we have strong intuition that this would make sense with Rise. There's at least another 10 behind this, and that's way too much for today's phone call. But yeah, we'll keep everybody in the loop, and we're hopeful that we hear something soon on these.
That's all the questions that we've received till now. Like I said, a lot of people have registered, and they want to see this video later at a later time when they're free. So in case you're seeing a recording of this video, feel free to shoot out your questions to invest@riseselect.com. We'd be happy to get on a call with you and explain any other questions or details that you need or have. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us again today. It's been a great session. Thank you.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a great
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye now.
Bye.